also something that people typically ask if you Google things related to videos and teaching. Those are the things that they see. Like, what is a video strategy? What are the educational purposes? If you are like me, too afraid of probably doing something wrong, how can I do an effective lesson? What are good videos for teaching? And now that is just teaching in general, but when we are talking about teaching a language, I think this becomes more crucial because of the elements that you were discussing at the beginning. We are able to present different ways of speaking, different accents, and especially when students start growing up and they are becoming better in the use of the language, they need more exposure. So they will need people that they speak with different accents. For example, if my Mexican students, they only listen to my Mexican English, then it's quite typically that when they hear someone speaking in a different accent, they get scared. So before, yes, I was able to bring like other coworkers or friends that I have that were from a different country, and they will bring their very own way of speaking. But now that's not so possible because also time difference and such. If I want Greg to come to a school, that is not something that can happen right away. So what can we do? Okay, I can ask Greg to record the video to present himself, and then we will have a different thing. Or I can just, instead of going with that and trying to arrange that, I can just go online, trying to find things, provide my learners with more real life examples, with authentic material. So that's what we do, and we are all concerned about that. And the way that I know that we are all concerned is because we are in this session. We are here to discuss how to use videos and do it more successfully with your students. So basically using videos, as I will say, it's a way to show more and tell less. It is about the students interacting more with the information by themselves and then getting to conclusions, and then teachers, you're just helping with probably specific concepts and to develop skills, right? Now, something that I feel like often it is overlooked, or I'm gonna speak for myself, something that before and when I started working with presenting videos in my lessons, I overlooked these three elements. The effective educational video should contain or should think the cognitive load from students, the active learning, and of course the engagement or the effective domain. Now, I'm going to go little by little with the three of them. So the first one, the cognitive load, probably we are familiarized with it, right? This one has to do with three things, three parts of our memory. The first one is sensory memory. The second one is the working memory. And the third one is the long-term memory. Now, why is it that they are important? Why is it that we should care about those three things? Well, whenever we are presenting new information to students, we need to consider this if we want students to actually acquire the information. And now, whenever we are presenting a video, if we don't prepare it properly, it will happen that the students will have to be just passive. They will have to just try to sit quietly, pay attention to the screen, and that can work in two ways. For some students, it may work beautifully because they are probably visual and they are more than happy with doing that. But for some other students that are a little bit more kinesthetic or they like to have more hands-on activities, having to be waiting in front of the screen any more than they are already doing might not be the greatest idea. So we need to consider the following elements. Now, the sensory memory, that's when we select attention, right? That helps us select the information that will go to the working memory. And now, this one, it is typically focused in two different channels, the visual and pictorial channel and the verbal and auditory channel. Now, what do we mean by this? We are doing dual coding. It is not the same, and probably you have seen this somewhere else. It is not the same to just read something and then try to remember what you read. And then there is another percentage of you listen something, and then what is the percentage of what you remember afterwards? And the other one is, okay, so what you read and what you listen, or what you see and you listen, then that has a higher percentage for us to remember things. So if we attack, so to speak, the sensory memory, not by just one channel, but two channels, we have more chances to present and to select that information and move it into the working memory. Now, the working memory, what it does is it's processing information. It is thinking. So at the same time that we are receiving information, we are processing it, and we are deciding, okay, this one should go into this box and this one should go here. This one, I'm a little bit insecure. I'm going to hold it for a couple of minutes or probably seconds, and then we decide. So that's an ongoing process, right? And if we are good with the information that we present and we help the working memory process the information that we are presenting in a better way, we have more chances to move this into the long-term memory. Now, the process that we have in here is a back and forth process. Now, if you see, the sensory memory just works one way. It is, we get the information. If it is in dual coding, it's easier to pass it into the working memory. Now, from working memory to long-term memory, we have a back and forth chance. Okay, in this one, we are often retrieving information. So how can we present information to students that they can process and that they can pass into the long-term memory and then retrieve it, send it back to the working memory whenever we need it? That's what we need to do. That's what we need to consider. But the things, the working memory, as many of you might know, it has a limited capacity. It's not so powerful, but the long-term memory is somehow unlimited. We have more space over there, and there is more chance to recall it and to save it, store it so we can use it later. So using that, based on that working load memory and that theory, there are three components or three elements that happen in any learning experience, not only talking about video lessons, but in any learning experience. So we have three things: intrinsic load, J-main load, and extraneous load. So the first one actually has to do with just the knowledge of the subject, right? And this has somehow a connection with what we already know, the things that happen, how well we can connect things, okay? That is the intrinsic load. And the best example of this one is, for example, grammar. And especially when we are talking about young adults or even teenagers. If we are teaching English as a second or foreign language, they already have one first language that they are capable to communicate in. So this is the first thing that they connect to. That's why, at least in my experience with Mexican students, the older they are, the more they ask you to talk about grammar or to explain them in grammatical terms or to be more explicit with this, because they want to connect. They want to see how one thing is similar to another. And the easiest one is word pairing. Whenever we say, for example, blue means azul in Spanish, right? So whenever we do those connections, those are the intrinsic loads. Now, the second one, the J-main loads. Now, this is the level of cognitive activity. What is it that I need as a student to achieve the goals for the lesson? And here is when we as teacher, we have to be more throughout. We have to help them, because in here we ask them to do things that are required with critical thinking and problem solving. So in here we do such things as comparisons. And this might sound silly, but if you present information, how can they then analyze that information? It might be through a Venn diagram. Maybe students have never heard of a Venn diagram, so you need to go through that. So in here, we have to consider not only what we are expecting from students, but what is needed from them. What is the information or what are the tools and skills needed for them to succeed when doing the activity? So typically, again, it happens whenever we are doing comparisons, we're doing analysis, or we're doing something as simple as listing, right? The last one, the extraneous load. This one actually has to do with us, with the cognitive effort that doesn't help learners. And why do I say that this has to do directly with us? Because this one responds to poorly designed lessons, and this responds to confusing instructions, or it might be something like giving extra information. Whenever we give students more information than the one that they can manage and process, then instead of helping students by giving them more information, we are overwhelming students. So this is, again, for any learning experience. So you might see like, I was being very explanatory. Like I even explained a little bit further to my students. Why is it that they didn't get it? Well, that is your red flag. You explain more than you should have. So whether it is a video because we're presenting more information that we should have done in videos, and then you can see it probably is the video was too long. I think someone on the chat box was mentioning like, yeah, you need to use videos that are not as long. Yes. So we need to consider those things. How can students connect with the video that we present? How easy or how hard will be for them to connect? That is for the first intrinsic load. For genuine load, what is it that the thing that I'm asking them to do? What is the task? Yes, they have to watch the video, but what else they have to do? How are they going to process the information presented? Are they going to do a listing, a summary? Are they going to recreate what they saw in the video? And what are the tools that they need? In that I need to think of what are my students capable of doing and what I'm asking them to do. And for the last one, at least in my personal experience, is working with instructions. That's one of the things. So now that everything is online or in a hybrid mode, I have the chance to present it and to put it on screen and to have it more time, right? And that has helped me. So probably you're working with the way that you design the lessons, or you are struggling like me with instructions, or it might be about in the way or in the search of presenting all the tools to students, you are over explaining. So that's something that we need to work, again, not only for video lessons, but for any lesson.